Squid, Cowards. This is the third album from Squid, and I've been kind of on board with them since Bright Green Field a couple of years ago. They're kind of one of several new kind of adventurous art prog groups that have been coming out of England. You know, you got Black Midi, you got Black Country New Road. Squid kind of falls in that same category. And what you really notice about Squid across all their albums is that they're really great musicians who writing this kind of quirky post-punk music with a singing drummer. Of course, anytime you've got a singing drummer in a group, as a lead singer, that is, I've always found that dynamic fascinating, and I really like it when you have guys that can do it well. And particularly with Squid, the vocals are a thing that are very, again, idiosyncratic for the group. They're almost like kind of crazy, deranged vocals, but they really, really fit and distinguishes them from a lot of their other peers in this style. And as much as I've been a supporter of Squid on all their previous albums, they've had this one aspect of their music that's always kind of bothered me, in that they've always had louds and softs and not as much in between. So when they want to get a little bit more emotional weight out of something, rather than just, you know, they're strong on something, rather than having space on top to be more dynamic or less dynamic, they mainly get their emotional weight out of repetition. So they bring song up to a climax and then just keep it there and repeat the same thing over and over very insistently. And that does have, you know, its place in a way of creating and releasing tension. But it's always forced them into a limited range of expression. What I really love about Cowards is that it's very dynamic. It's got lots of louds and lots of softs. In many ways, it's their most textured album so far. You know, as a post-punk group in their earlier albums, especially Bright Green Field, their first one, it was very much the wall of guitar type playing, you know, with the quirky vocals, and very identifiably, as I said, like a post-punk thing. But by the time you get here, you've like got post-punk almost, because they've gone way past the thing of just having a wall of guitars and quirky vocals. There's a lot of synthesizers on this one. Whenever you watch the first videos of them, there's a lot of sequencing and a lot of things like that going on. Some of it even reminds me a little bit of like the Who's early interest in sequencing, like Bob O'Reilly and the things you hear on Eminence Front. That type of like shimmering, interlocking synthesizer rhythms form a lot of the textures that you're going to hear on this album. I also think that lyrically there's a lot to be said for this album. I'm still uncovering some of this, but it's sort of a treatise on the nature of evil. And if that seems like a really big topic, it kind of is, but they deal with it in some kind of both an abstract yet really down-to-earth way. It sells pretty decently, I think, overall, and the songs still have a character within themselves that don't rely necessarily on that concept. It's not like a rock opera or anything, but it's just different facets of this idea. But I think Cowards is a really big stylistic and compositional step forward for Squid overall. It's really pushing in the new direction that I support fully.